Last year, more than 73,000 people in the U.S. died from a fentanyl overdose. That's more than 200 a day. Earlier this month, Congressman Mike Garcia out of Santa Clarita introduced a pair of bills aimed at fighting the crisis. One seeks to condemn China for its role in fueling the fentanyl crisis. The other, the Combating Fentanyl Poisonings Act, establishes some $12 million in grants to help law enforcement and nonprofits. With more, I'm joined by Congressman Mike Garcia and also Jaime Puerta. Puerta lost his son to fentanyl poisoning in 2020 and then founded a nonprofit called Victims of Illicit Drugs. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being with me.
Thanks for having us, Marla. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Congressman, I'm going to start with you. What is the goal of this legislation?
Well, the goal is enforcement and awareness, and the word poisoning in this act, Combating Fentanyl Poisoning Act, is very important. Most of the people who die from fentanyl don't realize that they're taking fentanyl. In the case of Mr. Puerta's son, Daniel, he thought he was taking an Oxycontin pill, and it turns out it was made out of fentanyl, not even Oxycontin derivatives, just fentanyl. And so these are poisonings. These aren't overdoses. These aren't kids that necessarily have a drug addiction problem. They're just taking the wrong pills from the wrong people. And so what this legislation does is it puts $10 million towards Burns grants that come out of the Department of Justice every year that give sheriffs, LAPD, the opportunity to go after these fentanyl dealers, and then another $2 million grant to help educate kids in school, other nonprofits, and nonprofits like what Jaime is leading with Victims of Illicit Drugs. And there's other nonprofits like Facing Fentanyl that do a good job of this as well, to give them the resources to go educate folks.
Mr. Puerta, your organization has endorsed Congressman Garcia's legislation. How do you think that it could help prevent deaths like your son Daniel? He was just 16 years old when he died.
Absolutely. We will always support Congressman Garcia. We feel it's very important because foundations like ourselves are made up of bereaved parents. We're not drug-free coalitions per se, so we don't qualify for a lot of the grants that are out there right now in the government. So this kind of money is seed money so that we can go out into our communities, junior high schools, and conduct parent-mental seminars as well. And we can do this with this money. It helps us out a lot because most of us are all self-funded, quite frankly.
Yeah, Congressman Garcia, you're holding a picture of his son Daniel. We were just showing some images of him. What a good-looking young man. Do you have the votes, Congressman?
Yeah, I think we will. This comes through the subcommittee that I'm on in appropriations, the Commerce, Justice, Science Subcommittee. This is an appropriations bill, less sort of emotional than some of these other issues coming to the floor. And frankly, bipartisan support for combating fentanyl. There's different ways to come at this. I'm supporting many pieces of legislation. This goes at the education and the law enforcement piece. But we also need to hold China accountable. We've got to secure our borders as well and make sure that this poison isn't coming across our borders. But yeah, I think we'll have the support. We'll get bipartisan support as we go through the appropriations process. This will be a big deal and hopefully combating or at least offsetting this very dangerous open border policy that we have right now.
We'll obviously continue to watch this one. And Mr. Puerta, we should put out, you're there with the congressman in Washington, D.C., but you're from Southern California. You're from his district in Santa Clarita. So I'm glad that we're able to point that out. While we have you,
and
Congressman.
Marla, we lost 80 kids to fentanyl poisoning just last year in my district alone. So this is really a big problem, most in L.A. County. So we've got to work overtime on this. Absolutely.
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm so sorry to hear that. It is such a crisis, and I cannot thank you enough for the work that you're doing in Washington, D.C. We'll have to leave it right there. Congressman Mike Garcia and Father Jaime Puerta, I'm so sorry for your loss. Thanks for all that you're doing.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.